think.
I just keep derailing.
No, it's cool. It's
Okay.
cool.
Okay, hold up. But you had said something explosive about America being the greatest nation on earth.
I did. That's not what I said. That's
you said
not
something about white bread and there's nothing better than
That is not what I said.
America and Wonder Bread and apple pie
Well,
and baseball. Don't forget baseball.
I have never seen baseball in my life.
And I'm saying, I mean, and just like in drive-through windows.
No,
food.
what I mean is, it's like if you come from a country, and Germany is a part of this list too. Germany, England, or the UK in general. Maybe not in general, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But like you come from like one of these like, top 10 countries in the world. And like, I just like when people are like, my country is like the worst. It's like, it's very clearly that's not true. Right? Like there are actually people who are actually having problems. And I think that like, it's like the need to feel like, but it's happening to me too, but it's happening. Like the world has problems, but me too. I hate it.
People. Some people want to like get into the they want to get into the I too am being oppressed.
Yeah, and it's like, maybe in some cases, but for the most part, not really.
Well, I can't. I don't co-sign that. Okay.
I mean, like if you're like middle class,
it's okay.
I mean, like if you're like on a college campus and like you're like middle class, upper middle class in the U.S., like you like for the most part, your parents are probably paying for college. If not, maybe you have some student loans and stuff, but your life is pretty chill. And it's like you're like acting like the end of the world. It's like I've actually seen people in slums.
So okay. I will come to a compromise on this.
Okay.
I will say this. I don't think it's good to say America is the worst country. And I also don't think it's good to say America is the best country.
I didn't say it was the best.
What did you say?
I said it's one of the best.
I think it's not good to say it's one of the best.
Really?
I don't think it's good to say it's one of the worst. I think it's good, and I would say this to you, and I would say this to Joe Rogan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my second episode of Conversations with Paul. I'm glad to share with you this next episode. It is with someone who is very, very different from me. He is traveling the globe in search of the best parties and just the best experience that he can have in his life. He is not interested in grinding just for the mere need to make some more money. He's really out here just trying to like live his best life. He's very different from me because whereas I travel for typically in search of like deep existential and introspective meaning, as a way to put history and politics into context, he's just out here like, man, just pass me a beer, pass me a glass of wine, and let's just have fun. I'll also let you know that me and him have had many political disputes. We come from very differing perspectives and different classes on a lot of political issues, and it leads to what I think is a very fun dialogue. And I want to share that with you. So here is my next guest, an interview with my next guest. His name is Benjamin, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. Okay, everyone, welcome to my next episode of Conversations with Paul, or Paul in Berlin. I'm not so sure what the title is yet, but I hope you stay with me. Here's my next guest. He's new to Berlin. He came here on a tourist visa, a 90-day tourist visa. His name is Benjamin.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that, Benjamin?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
Benjamin.
Good.
All right. His name is Benjamin. And we don't really have like an agenda or pre-planning. We're just gonna kind of go through it,
We'll flow with it.
We'll just flow with it.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's give a few details about yourself. How old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Okay. All right. And where are you from?
Richmond, Virginia, in the U.S.
Okay. And what made you, I guess last we talked, you told me that you were interested in living abroad. You were interested in living outside of the US. And I'm really interested in what motivates people to do something as drastic as live in a country that is not your home country, where you even want to take on the risk of being in a place where you don't speak the language, and you just want to try something new. So talk about the feelings, what it felt like to go through that process. What was the first conception of that thought? Oh yeah, also I want everybody to know, in full disclosure, this is my former brother-in-law.
Yeah.
It's a long story. We'll catch you up on it later. But yeah, so what was like the genesis of thought that made you say, you know what, I think I want to live somewhere else?
Well, it's actually funny that you bring up that you're my brother-in-law, sort of, because I remember this is about 6-7 years ago. It was my first time out of the U.S. And my sister really was like, she was living here. She was like, you got to get out of the country. You got to go visit other places. And I was really just like against it. I was like, the U.S. is the greatest place on earth. Like, why would I want to go anywhere else?
You had a real local mind.
I did.
Like
I did
7
have
years ago.
a super local mind, and I had traveled around in the U.S. as well. So it's not like I hadn't been anywhere. I just felt like I had seen everything that there was I needed to see, I guess. But I think I was in a place where I was kind of lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do for work and school and whatnot. And so right after I graduated from my 2-year school, I was like, I'm gonna go visit my sister, try to figure out myself or whatever.
So this is 2-year school, like community college?
Yeah, I went to a community college.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I literally fell in love with Berlin immediately, and traveling just in general as well, just seeing new places and experiencing new things. And this is before I had really come into my full self now, which is I like to party and I like to go out and meet a lot of people and stuff. But I don't think I realized that until after I left. So I didn't actually experience Berlin's party culture at all the first time around, not even a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't go anywhere.
All right, this raises a question. Did Berlin make you feel? Did it make the partying come out of you more than it did in Richmond, Virginia?
No, I think. Well, I guess maybe a little bit. I hadn't really started drinking at this point. And so, I knew that I was, this kind of guy who liked to be around people and, to talk and hang out a lot. But I just, didn't go to parties and stuff as much. And so, when I got here, at that point, I, started drinking more wine. And I, hate beer. I absolutely hate beer.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy that I love Germany so much. But, so that was also kind of hindering me from, the drinking as well. Because all of my friends back home, they drink.
Okay.
Beer all the time, and I was like, I hate
party.
Yeah, I hated it so much that I just was not about it. And then I started liking wine, and then by the time I got here, some people had showed me some different wines, and so right after that, and then the next year I went to Ireland. So that next summer I went to Ireland, and literally I went out every night.
Really?
Yeah,
in Ireland.
The turnover was within that year.
Did you drink beer in Ireland?
No,
stayed on that.
I think I was drinking more mixed drinks at that point. I was on the hard stuff.
I love the Irish in Ireland. I love very open.
They're the nicest people on earth.
They're really nice.
They're so
very
nice.
talky, and I love their accent. And Ireland is beautiful. Ireland is a beautiful place to kind of drive around.
It is, and actually, when I was there, me and my friend we rented a car.
Ah, nice.
And we drove through the entire country for about 2 weeks, which was really really nice. He drove really he's a big car guy, so that's what he's into is just driving. He only almost killed us twice.
Oh,
because they drive on the other side of the road. So,
oh man,
so just a couple of early mornings, he just is in the wrong lane just because he's programmed.
That's why I always pay the extra, because dying on vacation is not cool. Dying on vacation is also like an easy way to die because vacation sometimes intoxicates you into thinking you can do more than you normally can do.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, now let's flashback real quick to the US. It's like, I remember going to party in your city in Richmond with your sister, my ex-wife, and we were having, and it reminded me of like also partying in Baltimore, my hometown. It was just like a lot of people standing around.
Yeah.
There's no smile. There's no
Yeah.
neutral
Post-
face.
people-
It's just
guys
just posted up.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, something cool is gonna happen, but I'm not gonna contribute to the cool at all.
Yeah.
A few people dancing, but it's not very fun. It's like the music is good, but it's not very fun. And then there was this moment where it's like, oh, as the night progresses, people start to loosen up a little bit. The dancing starts happening, and then we heard some rumblings of a fight, and there were all these police outside of the club because this place is basically, I mean, it's just like known for like stuff goes down at this club and police need to pull people out.
Yeah.
And then also just in general, I always feel like things in the US, like simple fights, simple arguments can escalate quickly. And so as soon as we heard that, I'm usually the one who's like, okay, let's go. But I'm thinking I'm in Virginia. Virginia's so beautiful. And then like my wife's like, no, it's time to go. And she pulls my arm and we leave.
Yeah.
And
well, because in Virginia we have guns. Like it's like everybody's got.
It's still it's like Virginia looks like it can look very progressive and beautiful, but it's still there's lots of moments where you're reminded like this is still the South.
Yeah,
it's the edge of the South. But it's the South. You know. Okay, so
really
talk about like what partying felt like in the U.S. What was like your party culture or your partying experience?
So for me, I mean, you know how we were talking about like they're just guys like kind of posted up. I've found that is sort of the case in a lot of places, like all around the world. I think it happens a little bit more in the U.S. There's just like a stigma that like guys like feel like they need to have, and I've never felt like I've needed to act like that ever. So I've just operated on a different wavelength. But I think the cool thing is like. You can, for
you
me
come in
personally,
with the cool. You come in.
I come in like
complete
expecting to have a good
agency.
time, like in my own way. Like I'm gonna dance, I'm gonna do whatever.
Yeah.
People dance with me, that's cool. If people don't, I mean that never happens. But yeah, if they don't, it doesn't matter.
I found that's the best way to actually go to the club. It's like I remember when I was young and I would go to like these kind of clubs or parties with like the typical male feeling like, oh, if I don't dance with a girl, then my night is wasted. If I don't come away with no numbers, oh, my night is wasted. It's like when I realized just go in to have fun.
Yeah.
If you just go in to have fun, dance, and not expect anything, that was when a lot turned around for me. Just personally, I remember that moment. Okay,
that's the best piece of it. No, that's the best piece of advice I could give anyone that like wants to go out to a club. It's like just don't expect, especially guys, like don't expect anything from the night. Just enjoy yourself. And you know, if we're talking about just like women in general, like I think people like women will catch on to the wavelength. You know, and like if you're having a good time, then other people around you are having a good time. Generally, unless you're like really sloppy about it.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
But so to continue about like in Richmond, we have. It's actually interesting that you said that like you like saw a fight. That's actually pretty rare that happens. At least at the clubs that I go to, and I'm pretty sure the club if I remember correctly, me and my sister were talking about this actually recently. And I think the club is, it was called Cha-Cha's at the time.
Cha-Cha's, yeah.
Cha-Cha's. Yeah, and that place is actually, I don't ever remember it ever being bad. I mean, it has its moments where like some people get kicked out, but like I don't think fights are all that common. So that it's just like really funny that was like the one.
Let's just call it a tussle.
A tussle.
It was a pre-fight. It was a tussle.
I've seen worse. Actually, I've seen worse in Ireland. I saw like a guy get hit upside the head with a beer bottle. Like wax. And
Really?
And it was so funny because, like, it was outside the bar. Like, I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and so the bar had just closed, and we were and just a bunch of people outside talking.
Yeah.
And you just hear this crack of like the
Ooh.
glass, and then this guy in the middle of the street on the floor, and then this other guy just running down the street. And it's quiet for all of like 5 seconds, and then it just like business as usual. The guy is still like laying in the street. These Irish people don't care at all. Like,
That's a normal day at the pub.
that just happened. Like, whoa, are we not gonna talk about this?
I actually heard a guy from Australia told me, he said that's actually a common way of like fighting in Australia.
The beer bottle thing?
Hitting somebody in the back of the head with a bottle, with a beer bottle. It's like if you're out, is that's kind of like the
How
way
people not dying?
I mean, I could connect it to something larger and darker, but like I just think it's like Australians are very much connected to British like genocide and stamping out other cultures. And so I think me particular, I look at it like when it's hard to explain. I can explain this to you, but it's not apparent till you feel it. When you go to places where they have a lot of conquering history, you can see the physicality comes out of people, I find, a little bit more. And you see places where they're not so used to that much aggression, and they're a little bit more chill. So I've found that, like, I haven't spent a lot of time in Ireland, but I found, like, with the British, I found with the Australians.
I don't know actually that much about Australian history. Did they do like conquering? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I thought they were like, I don't know anything about Australia.
I mean, so basically, quick history tip lesson.
Yeah.
Australia was not white until like recently.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that makes
sense. The British basically like had a whole overpopulation of prisoners.
Yeah.
And they sent them to Australia. Okay, I won't go.
That's actually, that's crazy because I guess I never thought about it. Like, they would have had like native people that were on Australia as a continent. I didn't think about that.
Are dark. The native people are dark, and the native people are like.
I genuinely did not know
live
that.
in like squalor. They're fighting each other all the time.
Oh, wow.
They can't get jobs. They can't adjust to society. Not all of them, but that's the stigma.
Yikes.
Okay, I said I wasn't going to go into a big lesson and get you off track.
I mean, I did learn something. I actually did learn
There you
something.
go.
I didn't know that.
There you go. Tell somebody. Okay.
Yeah, well.
Okay. So, I just wanted to cap that off by saying I find that physicality between British, Australians, and Americans to be the same. That there's a certain level of like casual aggression.
I guess if you're told constantly that your ancestors are conquerors, then
if you're told, what if your ancestors are?
I mean, yeah, they are, but like, well,
I mean,
you think their spirit is like
if you
left
go
in
there,
your...
if you go there, I go there. But go ahead and ask the question.
I do think their spirit is like this spirit of conquering is just like. Do you think it's the spirit of conquering, or do you think there's a general way of talking about conquering that is passed down from generation to generation that makes it more acceptable? It's not like
yeah.
It's like if they didn't know, like they might not actually act the same way. Like,
so I would say the spirit, but let me dig deeper into what I mean by that. Just plain and simple. Whenever you engage in a particular behavior, you pass that behavior down to your children.
Yeah.
You pass down the morals necessary, the psychology necessary to do what you did. You pass that down to your children and how you raise them.
Okay.
That's the difference between...
I see the difference.
How a parent says, okay, you see somebody in need, walk away, walk on this side, or clutches them really tightly, versus a parent who doesn't. It's just like, no, I'm just gonna, or I might give them something. This is not the best example, but the larger point, I'll probably say it better like this. All of these countries have so many centuries invested in aggression and violence that you have to then build a psychology for violence. Oh, a psychology that says this is the line where we get violent.
Right.
And that line is that threshold is often going to be shorter than people who don't spend so much time in aggression. And just their philosophy of how to deal with disputes and conflicts, whether we're going to handle this with words or whether we're going to handle this with like chest and fists. That philosophy, that way of life, that way of thinking has to be passed down to your children. And if it is as simple as a lesson of saying, okay, when another kid pushes you, you hit them in the face. It's like that's something that like parents teach children.
That is, my my dad taught me that.
I mean, that's I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I was taught, hey, if somebody bullies you, do this.
Yeah.
Bully them back. Fight back.
Yeah.
Even if you lose, fight back.
You fight back, and then they won't bully you no more. That's like how you stop them.
So it's all part of that. To me, it's all part of that philosophy. Okay. Not going to go too far. Let's get to like better and lighter fare.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Fair enough.
You decide to come to Germany.
Yeah. The first time.
The first time. What was the first experience like? Was it cool? Was it like so?
I just remember. Well, I know we just like got away from the heavier topics, but I remember feeling significantly lighter, and in a way that like I didn't realize that I felt heavy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this is actually something I think you helped me with that first time I was here, because I didn't catch the feeling, and I don't remember. Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly what you said.
That's fine.
But you said something to me, and I think it clicked in my mind, because but I can't tell you one specific night when it actually clicked. And I was walking around at night, and I had a hoodie on, and I was just walking around with my hood on, and I think I like did not realize that I do this until that night. But normally, if I'm like walking at night and I have a hood on, if I see someone who's white, I like take my hood off, like unconsciously, and then like put it back on. And I don't think like I was registering that I was even doing it. I was just like, I had like been doing it, and I wasn't thinking about it. And I went to take my hood down. And it's like, these people don't care. Like they don't I was like, I made the connection of like, there's this white lady walking down the street, does not give. She doesn't care. She doesn't care that like I'm not making her uncomfortable. I didn't feel like I was making her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so like I think from that moment on, I think being able to get out of the sort of American context made me just feel like better. And don't get me wrong, I love the US. Like I've met like quite a few American that they're like, oh, I hate the US and da 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 da. And I won't say that I hate the US. I love the US. It's given me the opportunities to have one of the strongest passports in the world. So like I'm not gonna knock on that. I actually kind of find it really annoying when people say that, honestly. But yeah, I do. Because it's like you have the luxury of being
fight.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of like it's a bit snobby, right? To be like to have the luxury of coming from like one of like the greatest countries in the world right now. One of, I'm not the one, but one of the greatest. I'm not one of those.
It's okay. It's okay.
Nah.
You can just press my trigger buttons and ride on by.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've talked about this. We feel differently about these.
It's
and
okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
You're only a little wrong. but I just think like when people hate on it so much as if it's like the worst country in the world, I think that really grinds my gears. Because it's like America has its problems, but I've gone to enough countries and been there long enough to realize that these countries also have problems. They're just different ones, right?
Mm.
Like maybe they don't have guns, but like they're knocking each other upside the head with bottles in the streets,
Hey,
which is
hey,
crazy.
I feel this all the time, though. I feel this all the time. I feel like this all the time. If it's between me and a bottle, I'd rather take those chances.
If it's you and a bottle, what do you mean?
A guy with a bottle, bigger than me, stronger than me, and he just caught me slipping that day. I still rather my chances with that guy than just like my chances with coming out the club, somebody mad that they ain't getting no girls, and they want to look at you funny. They get into a little bit of a staring match with you, a talking match with you, and the next thing you know, somebody says, "Let me go to my trunk." You hear something like that, everybody start running.
Okay, so that does happen.
It happens.
But I think I think it's noteworthy, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, especially to anyone who doesn't live in the U.S. when they hear this, that it probably happens significantly more often that someone gets knocked upside the head by a bottle in like London than people are getting shot in Virginia.
Hold on, I wouldn't compare safety with America and London, because I also find London to be a fairly
okay. Maybe London was a bad example. Okay, I'll say
dangerous place.
Dublin or something. When I was in Ireland, like it was common to them. Like that was commonplace, and so I think like there's like it is more. Guns are definitely more dangerous. I'm not saying, but I could also. But I do what?
But my guess is that if somebody hits you in the head with a bottle in Dublin, you're probably going to see that person again. Dublin is mad small. It's a very local. It has a local feel.
I mean, probably yeah.
You step out. I'm just going to see this guy again. So he didn't take my life, so I got a chance to balance things out.
But doesn't that like end up in more turmoil? Would you think that would end up in more turmoil, or do you think they just like making amends? Like
I think you can always make an amends if you're not like one. I think that's far. That's too far. Hitting somebody in the head with a bottle.
I mean, that's like wild, right?
I think that's like. That's one of the most sucker moves you could possibly make, quite honestly.
Yeah, especially like up beside their head. Like
it's I didn't even see it coming.
Yeah.
If I didn't see it coming, but I'm also used to like watching my back and anytime somebody can catch you slipping. But we should actually do another talk about like how to drink safely, like when you're traveling.
Yeah, we should do that. I would love to do that actually.
Quick tip.
I've drank in a lot of places.
Because bad things can happen, particularly when you come with your culture and your cultural ways, and it's like bad things can happen. I've in the past, I've done this in the U.S. and I've done this abroad. It's like, okay, if you let's say you just so happen to bump into somebody, you knock their drink over. Don't get into a staring match. Smile, be like, let me buy you another drink. Okay, if you ain't got drink money, don't go out. You ain't got enough money to go out and keep. I realize how much, I'm saying that because I realize how much like that macho-ness contributes to the energy. And then that person on the other end of it feels like, okay, they have to give you macho +1. And then you feel like you gotta give macho +2. And so I realized always try to inject some peacefulness and de-escalation and love into a situation. Always try to do that. And generally speaking, I think things go better for you. Okay, I'm off topic. What were we talking about? What are you?
Me coming to Germany, I think. I think.
I just keep derailing.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Okay, hold up. But you had said something explosive about America being the greatest nation on earth.
That's not what I said. That's not
something about white bread and there's nothing better than.
That is not what I said.
America and Wonder Bread and apple pie.
Well,
And baseball. Don't forget baseball.
I have never seen baseball in my life.
And I'm saying, I mean, and just like in drive-through windows. For
No,
food.
what I mean is, it's like if you come from a country, and Germany is a part of this list too. Germany, England, or the UK in general. Maybe not in general, actually. But like you come from like one of these like, top 10 countries in the world. And like, I just like when people are like, my country is like the worst. It's like, it's very clearly that's not true. Right? Like there are actually people who are actually having problems. And I think that like, it's like the need to feel like, but it's happening to me too, but it's happening. Like the world has problems, but me too. I hate it.
People. Some people want to like get into the they want to get into the I too am being oppressed.
Yeah, and it's like. Yeah, maybe in some cases, but for the most part, not really.
Well, I can't. I don't co-sign that. Okay.
I mean, like
So-
if you're
okay.
middle class,
It's okay.
I mean, like if you're like on a college campus and like you're like middle class, upper middle class in the U.S., like you like for the most part, your parents are probably paying for college. If not, maybe you have some student loans and stuff, but your life is pretty chill. And it's like, you're like acting like the end of the world. It's like, I've actually seen people in slums.
So, okay. I will come to a compromise on this. I will say this. I don't think it's good to say America is the worst country. And I also don't think it's good to say America is the best country.
I didn't say it was the best.
What did you say?
I said it's one of the best.
I think it's not good to say it's one of the best.
Really?
I don't think it's good to say it's one of the worst. I think it's good, and I would say this to you, and I would say this, to Joe Rogan, if that day comes that I ever get to meet him, and all of
you get big enough,
And I mean, I think it's important to say what specifically America is great at. Is America great for doing business? Yes. Is America great for being able to, let's say, buy a home? Is America great for its financial markets and the freedom and the ability to invest in these markets? These are things that I would say are great about America. Like say specifically what is great at and what it is bad at. Because what I believe is that one of the worst things, to me one of the worst things about America is the American mythology. That like when people say statements like it's one of the best, it's the best, they're often talking about this intangible mythology that is out there. There's no specifics, there's no substance behind it. And then if you really dig in for the substance, they'll start talking about things that didn't really happen. They'll start talking, but like the founding fathers and the liberty and the justice and the peace, it's like they wrote the Constitution while sitting on slaves. Like, it was like, yo, I can't write unless Toby, gets on all fours and I sit on him. It was like, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Toby, stop shaking. It's important to be specific. I agree. Also, I also agree. I've gotten a chance to go to other parts of the world, and it gives you more perspective. And it gives you more perspective. So I can more clearly say what America is. Through this, I have been able to challenge myself to say specifically what America is more great at, but also what America is terribly bad at.
I want to say though.
Yeah.
I think when when I say it, and I also think that this is definitely how I mean it when I say it, but I also think this is how other people mean it when if they say America is the greatest country in the world. I think that's like different. But if they say America is one of the greatest countries in the world, I think what they mean is like there are these countries that are just juggernauts within the world that like they're the ones doing the bullying. And nobody wants to say that's like what they're doing, but that is what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like they're using their power to sort of get what their people want or need. And so and in those places, I think for the most part, those people have a certain amount of access and ability that a section of the world just does not have, right? And so when people make like these indictments, and you also hear that here, right? Like people here will talk about the German government, and you go to anywhere, people are going to be talking about the government. But I find that it's like when Americans talk about America and they like talking about how much they hate it, it's like there's like this weird sounding of how much they detest America. And it's like if something goes wrong with the politics, they like want to leave the country. But it's like their lives are fine. Like every person I've ever heard these from is like your life is actually fine. Like just because Bernie Sanders isn't president, like you're but there were those types of people though at the time that were kind of obnoxious, and they were like, oh, if this doesn't go my way, and it's like you're not actually gonna leave. You're not going anywhere. Like these are the same people who are like living in like the same like
but this
city
is where I think
that
this is where I think it's good to be specific, because yes, having met people who things are bad and they don't have the option to leave. They don't have the option. Their passport, being in and amongst African people, and they talk about how much scrutiny they get by having an African passport, and it being one of the passports that gets you the least in the world. So this is why I say I did, for the sake of clarity. I think it's important to say, this is something that I have to acknowledge. The benefits of America is that I, at least at the end of the day, have the passport where I can
you got the one.
I can it's not the best passport in the world actually, but it is.
But you got one thing.
But I got a good thing.
You got one good thing from
and
the US.
I got more than one good thing.
I
got more than one good thing. I wish it was a way for people to actually see more clearly and feel how I feel about it, because it's far more balanced than it used to be. What I feel like, but I remember feeling like when I was in the States, even with a good job, even with good income, I felt like no matter how much more money I make, I'm not going to feel good here. And sometimes that's about, what you would obviously think. And a lot of times it's not about what you would obviously think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the experience, I find the experience of being an American, even if you're, you got all the privileges on your side, I find the experience to be very limiting. I find the experience to be very narrow. For instance, you can let's say I'm in the tech world. Let's say to a lot of people who might be listening in the tech world, let's say you got a great Silicon Valley job. Now when you're in Silicon Valley, you're basically saying that you're in the major leagues. There's no better place. There's no higher league to play in than in Silicon Valley if you're in the tech world. But one thing I've noticed about Silicon Valley is that it's so expensive to be there that you wind up only interacting with people who make at least $150,000.
Yeah.
And you wind up, the more you get, the smaller your world gets. And the smaller your experiences get. And that to me tells me greater success in America leads to being a greater knucklehead. And I just saw that trajectory. I just felt that trajectory. It was like, at what point do I actually get to, I can buy more, but when can I experience more? And so to me, the quality of life over time diminishes because you constantly are in a situation where you're getting deeper and deeper into your particular class, your particular socioeconomic class. And
No, I think I was feeling that a little bit too. That's part of. I think that's a bit part of why I left, was because, and I guess I never really laid it at the feet of America when I thought about it, but but I did see like myself heading in this direction of, well, I mean, I work in the media field. I'm a video editor. And so I like, my options if I wanted to leave Virginia was to go to like Atlanta, Los Angeles, Texas, you know, like, or like specifically like Austin, or like Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so like there's these cities where like people are just grinding and working really hard. And and it was like, I think that the environment of like, and I guess I was saying, I was thinking that it is like the industry, but then maybe it is just a bit of how America is in general. That like, it's just like, you're like constantly thinking about how to make money, like constantly. And I know people who work in the field that live in like these different places, and they are constantly like, they're on a gig and they're thinking about their next gig and like what they're gonna do next, and how they're gonna make more money, how they're gonna go farther and further, and you know, like get bigger and better, and like, you know, they constantly, and like I was like, I like don't want that life. Like I want to work in the media field, but I don't want the life of trying to have to grind and work, and I didn't want to be in that environment either with around people, because in these cities especially, are like the cost of living is like ridiculously expensive.
And the more money you make, you still
Yeah.
in a sense wind up spending like a lot, the same proportion of your paycheck. And that's what I found also, is that it's like the race.
I think
The race never stops. The higher you go, the faster you gotta run.
I think Americans have a really like bad mental about money in general, though. It's like because part of the problem is that we have this idea of the American dream that like is being sold to you like constantly. And so if you get a new job, that means you need to get a new car. You need to get it. Like if you like go up in like the field, and it's like, why? Why do you need a new car? Why do you need a bigger house? It's like your old house is fine. And like and what the American dream tells people is that upgraded lifestyle where the amount of money that you have at your disposal is about the same, but you just have nicer stuff, like, you know, more shiny stuff.
It's a very stuffed life.
Yeah.
It's a stuffed life. Your experience in America is about stuff.
And you're told that that's basically what happiness is, like getting this upgraded lifestyle. And it's unfortunate because I think it stops a lot of Americans from just being happy. Like just in general, like, because once they get all this stuff and they're like, well, I'm still not happy. Like what's going on?
So something I would say to that is, I think I just forgot it, but there's something about the quality of life. And also when you're not constantly on that track of like, I gotta make enough money. You then, when you're not thinking about that, you then begin to think about quality of life. And I generally think that not enough people get the opportunity to feel that, that level of ease, that level of self-reflection in the States. Okay, I don't want to stay on the States too long.
Sorry, yeah.
I want to stay, because I could talk about that for a long time. Let's talk about something. Give me like some type experiences that you've had traveling in Germany or traveling somewhere else. Was there a moment where you were like, oh, this would not have happened in the States? It could be small, subtle, or it could be big, whatever.
Outside of the racial stuff, right? Like I do feel a little bit more comfortable in just other places. I will say, this is actually something that actually is really close to me. If you are Black, or if you're just like darker in general, or you just are some type of minority in the U.S. and you go somewhere else, and that like there aren't people that look like you, people will look at you. Like they will they're gonna look at you, they're gonna stare. But I think it's really important to note, and I think a lot of Americans, especially a lot of the Black people that I've met, have a lot of trouble with this. Just like taking it as just an interest and not as like a microaggression, because you feel it so often. Sometimes you feel it so often in the U.S. that you can like take that somewhere else, and it's like, no, like genuinely they have never seen someone that looks like you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's important to know. And like, and also like sometimes it'll be traditions and stuff that like in America it'd be super unacceptable, but like other places it happens, and like it's like this is what they do. Perfect example of this is you heard of the tradition in the Netherlands for Christmas?
Yeah, Zwarte Piet.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I actually have been told like two different versions of the story. One, it's like an elf that like went down a chimney and then he's dark. Essentially, the character wears like a black face. And so I actually remember I was in Thailand for school, and we were in class, and it was me, another Black American girl, and my friend from the Netherlands. And I think me and my friend from the Netherlands, we had been talking about that whole thing. We had gotten into like a really deep conversation about cultural appropriation and all these other different topics. So really serious. But then we were talking about it in class. And so she was like, oh, what are you guys talking about? And I was like, oh yeah, we were talking about, the Netherlands, they have this holiday and there's like blackface and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And she got like really upset. She was like, why are you even friends with him? It was like, he like... First off, we're just having a conversation. Second off, it's like he comes from a country where it happened. He can't make the whole country stop. You know? like he doesn't have a say. And I think what's interesting to note is that I think he didn't think there was anything wrong with it before we talked about it. But then after we had a couple conversations about it, he was like, oh yeah, maybe that is a bit weird. So but he's never had to think about it, you know what I mean? And I think for your own sake, when you're traveling around, give people the benefit of the doubt, or you're just gonna be constantly like in your head and upset about little things that really are like actually as innocent as they can be, you know?
I've got a good Zwarte Piet story. Schwarz, I think it's German, Deutsch, or Danish, or what's the language they speak in the Netherlands?
Dutch.
Word for Black Pete. So my company, we were in a bar with a lot of friends from the company, and this guy brought his girlfriend, and they were from the Netherlands, where they do the celebration of Black Pete. And I was there with some colleagues from Canada, and one of the, it was a white Canadian woman, she starts blasting them about their tradition of Black Pete. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like letting her play bad cop. I was like, this is really interesting. This is really interesting to watch it. And she's just like, why do you guys do this? And I know a little bit, I feel like I know enough about everybody's country, a little bit about everybody's country with regards to like the slave trade and their role in it. And there's some countries I give some context for ignorance. Like they just don't know any better. And there's some countries that I don't. And the Netherlands is one. The Netherlands is one. So I'm gonna counterbalance the statement. I'm gonna say first, I agree with you. I do agree with you that anytime you can put down your politics and your triggers, if you can lay them down temporarily for a moment, anytime you can do that, I think that's a plus. Because your body and your soul needs peace, and your body and your soul needs comfort. And sometimes you just kind of like need to say, okay, Sergeant, I'm not going to be on the front lines today. I'm going to do rest and relaxation.
True.
Now, back to the situation. They were talking about the people from the Netherlands. They were like, respondents like, I grew up with Black Pete. It was such a great, he did such great things, and it was so fun. And he probably left candy or something like that. And so we were like going through it, like trying to challenge them on whether Black Pete is racist or not. It was like, yeah, so he goes down the chimney and he comes out black. And I was like, okay, he comes out black, but what about the red lipstick?
Yeah,
and the earring.
He does.
And the
we
earring.
We talked about that too. I was like, where? Like, but why?
But what? You know, and this is something that I can say.
It's so close to that.
I can say for you, and I can also say this. I'm going to try to connect you and Joe Rogan right now. Please see, Bear, if I can make the connection. This is if I can make the connection.
I actually don't dislike Joe Rogan.
I don't dislike Joe Rogan too.
Yeah, I think he's dumb sometimes. But
no, I like Joe Rogan. Overall,
yeah, for the most part,
overall, I like Joe Rogan. Overall, I like him. But what I've realized and my experience with these topics is that you have to have privilege in a sense to have distance. You need a certain amount of privilege to have distance from things that trigger you. And it's like racism is far more triggering if racism is still happening to you.
Yeah.
If when you go to the bar, you feel the effects of racism. If you go to the mortgage office, you feel the effect of racism. If when you walk down your street, you feel the effects of racism. You know, Black Pete could make you want to like flip the table over. You know, yeah. But if I go to school, if I'm in college and if I'm Black and I'm in college and I'm about to get paid and you know, my love life is doing well, you know, I have some intellectual, I have afforded myself, or my privilege has afforded me some level of distance from the emotional trigger. And the reason why I bring up Joe Rogan, because I've noticed he has this ability, this great ability to talk about so many topics, because almost none of these topics affect his daily life. But it's when you find, I hope I'm not about to get a bunch of Joe Rogan hate. I don't know what I'm stepping into. This is only my second episode.
That's good for the algorithm, but bring on.
Okay. Am I clout chasing? Okay, but no. The point that I'm trying to make, I think, is really important. Is that? But if you talk about a topic, if you see anybody talk about a topic on the Joe Rogan podcast that is close to his heart, that's when you start to see.
Actually, you know what?
That's when you start to see. Talk about guns and limited gun rights. That's when you start seeing him get triggered emotionally. But all other things, he's like, well, are we sure that it was racist? Let's like really dig deep into it. Maybe we're misperceiving it. Talk about gun control, something that his group, whatever his group is called, whatever his tribe is called. And don't get me wrong, I still hang out with Joe Rogan. You know, you have friends who are different, come from different perspectives.
Yo, reach out, Joe.
Yo, Joe. Holla at your, you know, and let's not do it for TV. Let's not do it for TV or likes. I would actually just hang out with him and drink beers with him and talk with him straight up. I'm not interested in actually doing it for TV or for YouTube, whatever. That's something that I've realized, and it's something that I've also realized in myself, is that when you're really close to the fire, these things you don't have the privilege of distance. But when you have some distance away from it, from like the harshness of it, it's mad triggering. I mean, no, it's not so triggering. It's not so triggering. Okay, where was I before I got onto my speech?
But just to add on just a little bit, I think one of the reasons I actually tell Black people all the time in the U.S., like, get out of the U.S. Because what it does give you the ability to just step away from it for just a little bit.
Yeah.
And have a bit of a clear head, because it's not that your feelings aren't unfounded.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, like, it can blind you to some things.
Yeah.
And it's like when you leave the country, just like, you know, like absorb in the privilege that you have as like a traveling American citizen, because that is what you are. And I actually that's another experience I had when the first time I was here, when I realized that like I was just like not some Black guy. I remember someone like came up to me and asked me if I sold weed, and I was like, what the fuck? That's so weird. and I was like, maybe that was a little bit racist. And then I went to like a park, and I was like, okay, there are tons of drug dealers that look exactly like
you. Dress kind of like
I dress like them. I have dressed like them. It's actually
standard Berlin drug dealer. So for those who don't know, there's a couple neighborhoods that everybody know you can go to. It's not where it's where most of the African drug dealers are. Now, there are tons of white, Turkish, Middle Eastern, possibly even Israeli. I'm not so sure but I know I've seen their tag in the groups for the drug trade. But what's common, but in a place like Berlin, you don't notice them because they're not Black. They kind of have a sense of being able to blend in. But when you see Black people, and their dress, the way they dress, and the particular place in the city that they're in, where they're standing, it's just kind of like everybody. I remember looking up a blog, and it was like, okay, where do I buy this particular substance? It was like, oh, just and the answer was literally this. Just go to this stop
and look.
And the first like Black guy you see, I'm sorry, just ask him, does he have it? And it's you know, it's crude, but it is it's kind of true.
It's pretty.
It's kind of true.
I have so many. I go through some parks, and it's like I have so many, so many Black people come at me, brother.
But again, it's a particular. I would say it's a particular type. It's not just like because you're Black. And a lot of these people are
I think that's true.
They're caught up in a visa issue. They can't get jobs. Some of them are here for all kind of various reasons. But also one cool thing about the drug business here versus like the drug selling business here versus the drug selling business back in the States, it's not violent.
Not at all.
People don't go to them and aren't telling you to go there and be scared and make sure they don't take you back here. There's no if there's a turf war, I don't see it. I'm not aware of it. It's just like a legal operation that is like relatively, compared to the US, relatively safe. Again, I'm not telling y'all to come out here and become Pablo Escobar. I'm simply telling you that there are different things in different places, and that being in the quote unquote drug business doesn't necessarily mean that you are in the business of violence. Whereas in the US, they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Okay, now I'm off my soapbox. What we talking about now?
We were talking about I don't know. I don't remember the question.
We talking
about how my unique experience.
Pete's, Black Pete.
Something after that.
Yeah, an experience that happened to you here.
Yeah. So I was bringing up the fact that because it unique that because I'm I'm black. That happens. Like somebody asked me about
Yeah.
drugs, and then I found out that there are people that actually look like me that do sell drugs.
Yeah.
And then after that, what I noticed was that people treated me slightly differently until they heard the way I talked.
So they hear you're American.
Yeah, then they hear I'm American, and then like their ears perk up, and like they become way more interested in me and my like entire existence as a person. And it's like the treatment you get is actually just different. I don't necessarily know that the treatment is. I wouldn't say that the treatment is bad just if they don't hear me talking, but it is different. Like there's a lack
There's more curiosity.
Yeah, there's way more curiosity, and because there's curiosity, I think, and I think the curiosity isn't. I mean, I would say it's the cool kind of curiosity. I guess maybe I'm just like, I enjoy being the center of attention. So, but I've had people like buy me drinks and like just because they want to talk to me, you know, like they just want to hang out with a Black American who.
And if you were African immigrant, kind of like struggling, that probably would not have happened.
Yeah, like they wouldn't care. Like
less
they would
interest. So this is where a point where we admit that there is some privilege in being an American, a Black American, even when you leave America.
Yeah. I think so, and this is like in several countries that I've been to. So I will say that I don't think it happens a ton here in Berlin. It happened a lot in Ireland. People came up to me like all the time.
And also one thing is like America is such a big topic. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Everybody's keeping track of something in America. We're such a big player in the world. You don't know us until you leave. It's like we're such a big player in the world that everybody is consuming something from America, but everybody knows something about us.
Yeah, Europeans like to act like they don't
matter.
America's whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then like you actually like you get like to the end of the night and they're like, America's kind of cool. They all like they don't want to like it as much as they do, but they because they grew up with the movies. Like I mean, we have Hollywood, you know. It's like our cultural, our big export to the world is culture, right?
It's movies, in music,
so
products, and I think at the end of the day, it's just kind of like the same way Apple was going at Microsoft when Microsoft was on top, and now Apple is on top, and I think ultimately everybody wants to be on top. Ultimately, everybody wants to be on top. And I see the assumptions that come with it. Like, it's like, oh, you're on top. It's like, no, I'm actually lower than you. You assume that I'm on top. Okay, I won't go down there. Now, let's talk about something a little bit more that the people want to probably know about. You haven't been here for long, but you've dated a little bit here. What's dating been like?
I've dated very little. I guess I don't date very much just in general. Because I don't know, I just like don't have the personality for it, I guess. Like I like hate using like dating apps and stuff, and I think that's like a really big thing of the times at least. So I generally just go out to bars and you know what happens, you know. But I mean I have been on a couple dates, and it was interesting. Sometimes there's a bit of like a cultural divide. This one girl, she talks about how loud I am all of the time.
You're mad loud.
I am really loud.
Yeah,
but I think Americans in general are loud, and I think that I'm louder than most Americans.
Yes,
as well.
Americans, when you leave, remember, lower your voice. It is one of the most annoying things possible to hear, like the loud American. Oh my God.
That's me.
You gotta just... Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's just like sometimes when we were out, she would point it out like so frequently, and that it made the date less fun. You know, like I guess I understand. Like
Yeah.
you know, I am loud and it can be annoying. But like I I think that was a big thing for the both of us. Like we're out drinking. Like I
Was
want
she
to be
German?
loud.
Was she German?
Yeah, she was German.
Yeah, Germans talk low.
Yeah, and you know sometimes like I was like, oh, what'd you say? Huh? Why are you whispering? but
Was she nice?
yeah, she was really nice.
She was nice about it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were like, she was nice-ish about it. She wasn't like mean about it. Like,
wasn't mean about
she,
it.
Like, she was like, you're so loud. Like, she would like be like over dramatic about it. She'd like cover her ears. You're like so loud. But you know, so like there are like some funky little cultural situations like that. Like whereas like I met like an American girl. I may be loud for Americans, but an American girl would never say anything about.
Okay.
Like they just wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Like maybe they would be like, yeah, like later on they'd be like, okay.
She wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you
might,
talk
yeah.
loud.
A lot of times you might not even know. I mean, because everyone's loud, right? Like
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. We talk.
Now I will say that I don't think that Germans are not loud. Like you know, when you're in the bar, I don't think that they're not loud. But it's like we were like in a line to get into like a place, and she was like, "You're so loud," and it's like there are like
So this
places.
this is the place that you didn't get into, right? The hip hop club you didn't.
No,
get into?
no. We went out another time actually.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I didn't get into a hip hop club, and I was pissed. I was pissed about that for like a week.
You didn't get into a hip hop club in Germany?
Yes, I was so mad. I was like, look at this is our music. And what was like so
Berlin is famous for like
Yeah.
No, you can't get in. And
Oh.
this is across the board. This is across the board. Folks don't know why they can't get in. It's just like you can be standing in line for 2 hours. You get to the front of the line and they're like, but my guess, were you talking in the line? Like having a little conversation with her?
No.
In the line?
So right before we get to the front of the line, and we didn't realize how close we were.
Uh-huh.
Like we thought the line kept going for a little
Yeah.
bit around the corner or something, but it actually just like turned in and it was
Yeah.
just there. And when we were stepping up, this girl behind us started talking to us, and she was asking us how much longer do we have to wait. And this is how like I genuinely did not realize.
No, you started talking.
Well, no, I wasn't like talking to her. I was answering her question.
Yeah,
like
you
I was
answered.
like,
You
yeah,
talked.
like so I was like, I think it's gonna be like another like 10 minutes. I genuinely did not realize like we were right there. And so I like literally a person walks in and I see the bouncer. Like as she's like, and so the girl I'm with starts talking to like is still talking to the girl.
Yeah.
And so I turn around, see the bouncer, and the bouncer like asks me like, how many is it? And I just tell her it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And he waits a little bit, and then he's like, oh, sorry, so angry. This is such a trigger for me. He says, sorry, we don't have enough room. It's like we're really full. It's like it's one of those kind of nights.
Yeah.
And
We got too many of you.
she and so my date for the night was she had been talking about it like we were in this line for like 2 hours and she had been like for 2 hours constantly being like, we're not gonna get in. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's gonna be fine. Look at me. Look at you.
It's
look great.
hip hop.
Yeah, it's.
They're not gonna let me in.
I'm black. It's hip hop music. You look great. We're gonna get in. Okay, like they're not gonna turn away a black guy and a hot girl, right? So, and the group ahead of us was like 6 dudes.
They got in.
Yeah, and so I was definitely like, we're getting in. There's no way we're not getting in. It's 6 dudes.
That's typically not normal. Yeah.
Yeah, right? I've
heard
actually
never go
seen
to a Berlin
I've
club.
seen that a couple times.
Never go to a Berlin club without women. I've heard that.
Or
That's the
split up your group. I've heard some people do that. Like if you like rolling like 9 deep, but you only got like 3 or 4 girls, you just send groups of 2 or 3 guys with one girl.
Split those girls up.
Yeah, split the girls up.
Nobody wants all of your.
So we can get in.
Nobody wants your whatever you're bringing men. Yeah.
And and she turns around like while he's like telling us that we can't get in basically, and like she just kind of walks off like I knew it, like that I knew it walk.
I knew it walk.
And I'm sitting there dumbfounded, like my mouth is like hanging open, like what is happening?
I'm black though, and this is hip hop, and I'm American.
And so, what makes me the most angry about this situation, because like I was like maybe it was because at first I was like because I've been turned down because I was talking to someone in line before, sort of,
yeah.
But the girl that talked to us, she got in, like her and her friend who cut the line as well, got in. And I wanted to be like, the rest of the date was ruined. Like it was like 3 o'clock in the morning at this point because we had been waiting in. We didn't get in the line until 1. So we like go across the street and we're like trying to figure out what we're gonna do. She's basically like, I'm just gonna call it Uber. And I'm not a good person to hang out with because I'm just like, but like, why did we get? Like, I need to know. And I literally
you went OCD on it.
Yeah, I really did. And I actually went over there. I went back. I walked back. I was like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And I walked back over there to ask him why he didn't let us in.
Yeah.
But they had literally just changed bouncers.
Ah.
Yeah. And actually, there's a bit of a continuation to this story, because I was trying to get into a club that's really hard to get into, like the next weekend. Super hard to get into. It's called Kit Kat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know anything. Okay. But we get there and I'm in this like, it's like one of those places where you like dress up, kind of maybe like a little kinky, maybe just like a little. And so I'm wearing like all white.
You generally gotta show something.
Yeah. but this particular outfit I'm wearing, it's like my friend like dressed me in an outfit. I'm wearing like all white, but the shirt is a little bit see-through, and I look like a rapper or some sort of for like a music video. And I thought it looked so silly, but I had enough alcohol that night, so I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's get it. And the bouncer initially is like, you can't get it in, but he the way he talks, he points at what I'm wearing, and he like kind of like goes to like the other bouncer, and like he's like asking him something in German I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm sorry, yeah, you can't get in, whatever.
Damn.
And then I this time, because like the weekend before, I was like, okay, I want to like start asking these bouncers, like what, like what's it gonna hurt to ask, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's like my outfit or something, like I can just go home, change my outfit, and come back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I asked the guy, and then he clearly just doesn't speak that much English.
Yeah.
And like I'm just like, don't worry about it. And like we walk off to the sidewalk, we're just standing there and like figuring out what we're gonna do next. And the bouncer literally walks back over, like to the sidewalk to me, and like tells me like, oh, bro, you can come in. And I was like, retribution. Like, you know, it came around. Like, you know, I didn't get into one club, but I got into one that I might not have normally gotten into. Yeah. So that was cool.
Not getting into places is a big common conversation in Berlin, and
go early. German people, for whatever reason, or people who live here, like do not want to go to clubs until it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I highly recommend just going at like 11 or 12. you're more likely to get in when there's like not a line.
I've heard
that's
also
2
like
hours
5 a.m.
long.
I've also heard 5 a.m.
Oh yeah, well the
Like,
places that stay
when,
open
the places that stay open all weekend and people just stay there for like 24 hours or 36 hours.
yeah, I want to do the
I've
Berkheim
heard-
run.
I'm not going to.
I wanna do it.
I personally just like am past like the point in my life where I want to stand in line for like anything that's not like medical. Okay, so you got some dates. You went on some dates.
Yeah.
You liked it?
I guess, like I
mean-
said, I'm not that. I'm like, I'm not that big into like dating. Like we went with this one particular girl. We went out again pretty recently.
Yeah.
Got into the place this time.
Ooh.
That was a big plus.
Yeah.
But I know I think it was like the chemistry between us was like sort of dead by that point, and so
Yeah, that's cool.
it was kind of whatever.
That's cool. That's cool. Sometimes
Yeah,
it just don't
yeah,
work out.
yeah. Things that don't work
A lot
out,
of
and we
times it's
moved
just about
on.
matching. It's just like you're cool, we're cool, I'm cool, but we're just not a match.
Yeah, and I still had a great time that night.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. What else? Any other Berlin experiences that you want to share?
Berlin experiences. Like, what am I allowed to talk about on this?
Whatever you're comfortable saying. We're not turning down any content. Hurry up. My battery might be about
Well, I've been to, Europe in general, I think is a bit freer when it comes to,
You mean there's more freedom?
well, oh my God, well, let's not
We're
say,
not gonna do that.
like, yeah, let's
We're
not
not
set
gonna
you
say
off.
that.
but I meant like freedom in terms of like, they're a bit more open with their like nakedness and things of this nature. So there are like different places you can go to, like a different like
You got naked?
sauna places. Well, yeah.
Hey, only answer what you want to answer.
No, I mean-
reveal what you want to reveal. I'll leave it up
No,
to you.
I mean I don't have any problem revealing this. I've been to
That's cool.
I guess I don't know what they're called. It's like a sauna place.
Nothing wrong with being naked.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember I actually haven't been this time around, but the first time I was here,
Oh, you
I
went
went-
to one of the naked saunas.
yeah, and
Ah.
it's uncomfortable for maybe like 15, 30 minutes, and then it becomes like a very liberating, free feeling. It actually feels great because you're just walking around like, who gives a fuck? But like the first 30 minutes is like really weird and uncomfortable. Like you walk in and like it is a shared gendered locker room. Yeah.
Same gender.
Yeah, it's
getting
like a
undressed.
same gender locker room, like, and so like you're getting naked while there's like some girl in the background getting naked. And I remember being like, okay, this is super, super duper weird.
Yeah.
And I even remember delaying my like, cause like you go through the lockers and then you go into a shower and like you can see the showers from the locker, like only sort of. So you can't like, if someone's like taking a shower, you will only be able to like sort of see their back. But like the showers are in a line and there's nothing in between them. Like it's like glass in between each shower section.
Yeah.
And so you can like, if there's two people like in the shower, like taking a shower at
You
the
can
same
get
time,
pervy.
like you can definitely see. And so I remember even like me and this girl are in the locker at the same time. And I was so uncomfortable that I stayed in the locker room like an extra like 5 minutes. Just like finding shit to do.
You
like,
just found a book by Socrates out of nowhere. It's just like, oh,
like
what is the
I was
right
like
thing to do?
waiting for her
What would
to
Socrates say?
waiting for her to finish so that I can then go take a shower. And then it was like, and honestly, it was like a pretty futile thing because like I actually like started talking to like earlier I had like talked to the guy at the front desk for like a bit before I even had gone in.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, we do like this. Essentially, they pour like cold water on like the coals in the sauna, and they do it at a certain time, right? And he was like, I'll come get you when it's time for that. And so he came and got me when we were in there. And the sauna is literally like
Did he say
a box.
He said, Benjamin, it's time for the cold water to be poured over the hot coals. Are
No.
you ready? It wasn't weird?
He didn't do that, but I actually wish he would have. Would have made the story better, I guess. But but like the sauna is like it's literally a box that you're sitting in, and it's like a layered box. And I remember the girl that I was in the locker room with at the beginning, and like two other girls were all already in there and all already naked. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna go sit beside them because that would be weird.
You'd be like,
Yeah, like I was like, I'm not gonna get close to these because it's like the box is not that big.
It's a small box, yeah.
It's a pretty small box, so I'm like, it's gonna be weird if I just like sat beside them. And then I realized the error of my ways because that means that I was sitting across from them. I guess I could have sat like on the far end, but I think there was like a guy sitting there. And he was like laying down on like the entire bench. And so like my last option was to sit across from him. And I remember being
like, hey,
so
no, I'm not trying to look at
uncomfortable.
your jewelry. I have to sit here.
And everyone in the room could feel how uncomfortable I felt. They could just tell. Like but the guy helped me. Because he was like, yeah, he's American. He's like, this is his first experience. And the girls like giggled and then
They were like,
yeah, and then like, but it's not like a talking experience. So we didn't really talk to each other. Yeah, because it's like supposed to be relaxing, right? And so like we had that exchange, and then from that point on, once I actually left the box, like after that, I got way more comfortable, and it was it was chill. And like for the most part, like, you know, like the building goes, it's like inside, some of it's inside, but some of it's outside too. So like you go from in and out.
yeah, got a little outdoor.
Yeah, and so like sometimes people are walking around with towels, and sometimes they're not. You know,
Yeah.
like kind of deal. But for the most part, you're like, I remember I literally sat in a chair laying down for like an hour.
So you
I thought this was the greatest experience.
You've been in many parts of the world. You've been in the U.S. You've been in Thailand. You've been in Germany and some other places. A lot of times people want to know what to do. Tell people something not to do.
Ooh. Well, okay. My to do would be stay at hostels. Especially if you're American. Americans love to like stay at hotels, and I think it's way better to stay at a hostel.
Why?
It's way easier to meet people.
Okay, so
you have a great
stay at a hostel if you know how to communicate and put yourself out there.
No, even if you don't.
Even if you don't?
Even if you don't. I actually super advise it if you don't. Because if you're like at a bar,
hostels.
if you're at a bar,
Yes.
if you're at a bar and you're sitting by yourself, no one's generally gonna come up to you.
Not in Germany.
Not in most places that I've been to. It's pretty rare that I'm like sitting at a bar. Even those times when like people like come up and bought me drinks, it's like I was already having a conversation, looked like I was having a good time. But if you're sitting by yourself, like you can have a look of like, stay the hell away from me.
Yeah.
And people, I think even if you're not trying to give off that vibe, I think people will glean that vibe from someone that's like sitting beside them.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
by
So when you're
themselves.
at a hostel,
But if you're at a hostel,
give
people
the
are-
energy that I'm open to be talked to.
Well, even if you're not at a hostel, I think you're way more likely for someone to come up to you, because at a bar, most likely they're also the people there at a bar are with other people.
Yeah.
But at a hostel, those people are not. They're also by themselves.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And like you have, and the beauty of it is that you have something in common. Like you will always have something in common, and that is that you are a foreigner here, which means that you can talk about the things you're gonna do that day, what you want to do while you're visiting. If that person's been there longer, or what did you do? Like, so there's a very easy conversation piece That like you literally like you could be the worst person socially and you can get that. It's
So
simple.
be open.
Yeah,
Be open.
I've had the same conversation, like basically with like, 100 people, and every single time it's a great conversation.
Quite honestly, yeah. When I first got here, I did stay in a hostel, and within like 1 or 2 connects, I was like at like a carnival festival, a Caribbean carnival festival in Berlin that I didn't even know was happening. And that was like my first week. I think that was like my first couple weeks in Berlin. Be open, be nice. Met interesting people. So yeah, I definitely think that is a thing. That is a to-do.
And I guess the not to do to go along with that is like don't wear headphones. If you're like if you're trying to meet people, like don't wear headphones.
Don't wear headphones.
Because like it just you give off a vibe like I would never go up to a person that like has headphones on because it's like they're clearly trying to escape from the world. Now what I will do though, like sometimes like if I'm like going down for like breakfast or something, I will have earbuds and I will wear I'll have one in one ear and then not one in another ear. So like it's like sort of open, like, and so sometimes people will come up to me and sometimes they won't. But like it's like morning time when it's like I'm kind of willing to talk to someone, but I kind of don't care if I talk to someone while I'm eating breakfast. But I've had people like come up to me but I would recommend not actually wearing like full blown like headphones, like people will like never come up to you.
Okay, so
you're
you're here on a 90-day visa, it's just a tourist visa, You're about to leave. What's the next step for Benjamin?
Well, so I really want to, I guess I want to do some more traveling around in Europe. This particular year, I guess, okay, so actually I need to go back for just a second because, to one of your earlier questions, because you're asking me like what I was doing here in Berlin this time. And I guess I never really answered that. And right now I've sort of left home indefinitely. I have like no plans of going back. But I have no plans of like going somewhere specific.
You have no plans of going back to the greatest country on earth that has ever existed? Pretend I didn't say that.
Oh my God, Paul.
Pretend that I didn't just put you in a box.
I quite literally, I did not say that.
Just act like it didn't happen.
Okay, Paul. But
never. It's so great. I'm never going back. How does those two things happen? We'll go to that part of your psychology later on another episode. We'll unpack that later.
Whatever.
You're obviously not ready.
Whatever, Paul. But no. So no, I left indefinitely, and the reason why I left indefinitely was because I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I just didn't want to move to any of the places in the U.S. that I would normally go to for work. I guess I could have found something else, but I just wasn't willing to like dig deep enough. And I was like, I wanted to leave the country anyways, and I wanted to travel around anyway. So I said,
what are you searching for?
I'm not searching for anything, and I think the beauty of this right now. I know this is crazy. I'm actually the happiest I think I've ever been. I don't have a home, basically, and I think this is sort of what I've wanted for a really long time. I've always wanted to travel around and like kind of float around and do whatever I want to do. So it's like literally if I decide tomorrow I want to like fly to, I don't know, like Brazil, I could just do that. I have the freedom to do that right now. You're enjoying your freedom. I'm enjoying the freedom of like, and for the most part,
your passport,
my passport. I can go sort of wherever I want for the most.
Do you want to learn something? Are you trying to learn something?
No.
We need to congratulate people who know they basic and don't want to be complex.
I want to learn.
To embrace it.
I think I want to learn. I think I want to learn German.
Don't.
No,
Come on, man.
No.
Say no. Say no. I
have a basic plan.
Margaritas, potato chips.
What?
women who with pretty smiles. Just say it.
I mean,
Just say it. Or whatever you're into, just say it. Don't try to balance it.
No,
all of us are in different places at different times.
God.
There's a time and a place. There's a season for everything.
Well,
enjoy the season that you had.
Paul, what I'm into is I enjoy experiences with different people.
I agree.
And I do really enjoy experiences with people from other countries. But I don't think that's quite exactly what it is. I think I enjoy just new interactions with people. And I want to meet a ton of people. And I think it's difficult to do that in a place where you're from.
It's very different.
Because you're not so willing to make a chance. Other people, you give off more of a vibe of like, don't come near me because I don't need new people in my life. When you live there, right, you already have friends, right? And when you're traveling around, I, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say like desperation, but I don't mean that in like a negative way. There's like a general feeling of like, I can enjoy a new like person interaction with someone that you give off when you're just somewhere else. And that gives way to a lot more experiences. So like even if I'm in like, you know, Thailand or Ireland or wherever it may be, it could even just be a bunch of Americans that I meet while I'm there. And I will still just enjoy myself. And I love that a ton. Like,
that's an interesting point that you bring up, that I actually very much enjoy meeting Americans outside of America.
Yeah.
I actually find that it's a better, it's a more
filtered.
No, I think it's a more level playing ground. Battlefield is too raw, a bit too aggressive, but
it's pretty aggressive.
It was aggressive. So,
Battlefield.
Did I reveal something?
Is that
did I reveal something?
That's what I'm thinking.
No.
You going into social situations being like,
no, please.
I might have lost this point, but the war not over. I'll get him next time.
But the war's not over. I'm coming back.
Is that every conversation we've ever had?
Every conversation. I'm going for that gold ticket. No, the one thing that I noticed is that when I do meet Americans here or abroad, it's very interesting to me is that I feel like we would have, if we met each other in the States, we probably never would have hung out with each other.
Because why would you? Yeah.
Why would you? Because there's also so many barriers to like kind of like just hanging out. In the US, it's like, okay, you might do wine and cheese parties. I might just do like Crown Royal purple bag parties or something like that. And never the twain shall meet. But here I've met people who other people might say are very similar, but like some of the best friends that we had when we were here, we actually lived in the same city, went to the same clubs, were the same age, and we never in the States, we never met each other, and we never would have probably hung out with each other. And it was very interesting. We went on Facebook and found out we didn't even have any mutual friends, which is very difficult, I think, to do in certain spaces in the States. Or at least in the spaces that we interact in. So I definitely think it is kind of like a battlefield, because one thing I find about America is that politics are not a soft game in America. And the politics actually rule the day. I think it's always. It's actually always. There's kind of like never a time when a group doesn't kind of represent like their politics. Even if they don't necessarily personally, you carry the weight of whatever your group brings to the table. And I just find it a bit easier to to have those conversations, because one thing, because the alternate experience in the States is that we almost may never see each other to have the conversations.
Yeah.
Because in the States, it's you live here, you go to these places on these nights, and we go to these places on that night. We kind of don't overlap. There isn't a great deal of like time for communication. Okay, so we got to wind this interview down. I'm about to go pick up my baby boy.
It's a great talk.
It was a good talk, man. It was a good talk. I really enjoyed this. Is there something that we that you might want to share that we didn't cover?
I would just say, if you're American and you're thinking about getting out of the country and going to visit somewhere, I say take the leap. A lot of people will tell you, especially when you tell people in America that you want to go somewhere else, you will get a lot of people to tell you that
the greatest country on earth.
Yeah, why would you ever want to leave? That it's gonna be terrible when you get over there. The people are gonna be super racist. They will tell you tons of things about a place they've never been to before.
Yeah.
And I would say just take that leap. Be adventurous. And don't listen to those people. Don't let them affect your life. And because I also know some people who are like, I wish I would have gotten out of the country, but now they have so much going on and they have so many ties to the US that it's they can't do it anymore. They just feasibly they can't do, they have their kids there, or they have blah 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 blah. They can't go anywhere, or they may not have the money for it. So if you have the opportunity and you have the desire to do it, do it.
If you have the opportunity to go.
Yeah.
Because the window's closed. That's something I've learned. Windows don't stay open for long.
Yes.
So opportunities always close. So if you're wondering whether this is for me, if you actually have no barriers to going, then it's for you. Okay. This is a great episode, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out.
Oh, anytime, man. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Till next time.
Peace.
How do you end it?
How do you end it? Should have to be the ending.
Okay. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed that last conversation. Please like and subscribe and share with a friend. I got more interesting thoughts and conversations coming up. So until next time, cheers.